Hello, geometry. You may be wondering, why am I carrying two rulers? And I'll tell you. What we're doing today is we are going to have a conversation. We're going to be talking about parallel, skew, and perpendicular lines. Let me write those down for you real quick, because you're going to want to. Parallel is easy to remember. There are two parallel lines right in there. Perpendicular, we've already talked about a little bit. You just don't know we have. And skew. Okay? These are special cases with lines that we need to be talking about. Okay? The first one is parallel. Parallel lines are two lines that will never intersect, no matter how far off into infinity they may go. For example, those are parallel. These are parallel. Those are parallel. These two are now parallel-ish, as best as I can do, okay? So they can be going whatever way. It's kind of like, think of train tracks, okay? Parallel lines are like train tracks. They're never going to meet. They're going to stay equidistant, meaning they're going to stay an equal distance. Equidistant. They're going to stay equidistant from each other forever, okay? And if you look at the word parallel, these two L's right here are kind of examples of what parallel lines look like. In fact, that is the symbol for parallel. So those two parallel lines. Okay? So parallel means they're never going to intersect. Now I want to be clear. These two would not be parallel because eventually they would intersect. Okay? So it has to be, like these two would be parallel now. But if it looks like if they kept going, they would intersect, then they're not parallel. Perpendicular. If two lines are perpendicular, that means they create a right angle. The symbol for perpendicular is you just draw a couple perpendicular lines. Okay? So, these would be perpendicular. 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 These are all perpendicular as long as I have that 90-degree angle right there. Okay? If you look around your room, unless you happen to be in some kind of really crazy circular room, which is actually pretty cool, you should be able to see a whole bunch of right angles. All of those intersections are perpendicular. It's a really common one. Skew, which is fun to say. S-K-E-W. Skew means that they never intersect, like parallel, but are on different planes. Imagine, if you will, I'm holding these two parallel lines. I could build, if I wanted to, kind of a wall between them. Okay? And it would hit all of this ruler. It would hit all of this ruler. Okay? I could build something between them. I could kind of string them together. Okay? Skew means I can't do that. Like this. These two lines will never intersect with each other, no matter how long they go. But I can build something between them. Okay? They're not really going the same direction. Parallel are going to go the same direction, generally. Just a little bit farther apart from each other. Okay? Skew means we're not going the same direction, but we're also never going to run into each other. Skew requires a 3D drawing, which is difficult in the 2D world sometimes. But skew requires 2 dimensions. Parallel and perpendicular only require 2. Those operate in a 2-dimensional world. Okay? Skew is 3 dimensions. Bunch of skew lines. Okay? There's not actually a symbol for skew that I know of. Okay? So that is parallel, perpendicular, and skew. Now, there's technically another option, which is everything else. Like these two. We intersect, so that's skew or parallel. It's not a right angle. So this is just none of the above. It's just another intersection. So these are, all 3 of these are special instances. Okay? But instances that we can do a lot with, so we'll be talking about them a lot. But like this would be none of the above. None of the above. None of the above, but it's very, very close to a right angle. Okay? A reminder, in geometry, don't assume anything. If I put these up for you, but I don't tell you that that intersection is 90 degrees, or I don't draw a little square right there, do not assume that it's 90 degrees, because you don't know that it is. Do not assume anything. If I throw these in front of you, don't assume that they're parallel unless I have labeled them as such. Speaking of, let's get to some labels. Okay, so we've got 3 lines here. And I think that we can see pretty quickly that, like, this is probably not parallel with anything. And these 2 might be. But a reminder, don't assume anything. So the label for a parallel line is you're going to get an arrow on the line. Now these are lines, so you'll have arrows at the ends. That's not what we're talking about. It'll be in or on the line, like this, okay? And like with congruency, sometimes we're going to have to label multiple sets of parallel lines. Okay? So let's say that this line and this line is parallel. Well, if I just throw 1 arrow on there, well, now it's going to look like all 4 of them are parallel. And that's not true. So we draw an extra set of arrows. So the 2 lines with 2 arrows are parallel to each other, and the 2 lines with 1 arrow are parallel to each other. Okay? So it's going to give you a lot of examples in the homework today saying, these 2 lines, are they parallel, perpendicular, skew, or neither? These 2 would be parallel. These 2 would be neither. Because they're right next to each other, these 2 right here, they're going to run into each other. And you have not been told they are parallel. Can't assume anything. Okay? A perpendicular line, then, may look like this. Now, we don't know right now that that's perpendicular. We have not been told, we haven't labeled things. So make sure that you either label this with that square, or they tell you that it's 90 degrees. And that's really small, but I wrote 90 right now. Okay? Then you can assume that it's a right angle. And something that's really cool about parallel lines, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, is whatever angle measurement this angle is, this angle will also be that angle measurement, okay? As long as they're parallel. This is called a transversal because it's cutting across multiple lines. We'll get into that a little bit later. That's actually in the next section, okay? Before the next assessment. So, what you are looking for today is parallel, perpendicular, and skew lines, or if they are none of them, you need to label them as such. It's 11 questions. It's multiple choice because that's the only way that I can do these. So sorry about that. It should be pretty quick for you. But we are now staring down an assessment. We've got a whole bunch of vocab, and all that vocab is going to get thrown together for everything that we're doing with angles, with triangles, congruencies. Everything is going to get thrown together. So all of the vocab stuff that you need to know. So the next assessment, which today's Tuesday, we're looking at Thursday probably. So tomorrow will be a review. You gotta have all that vocab down. Staring down an assessment on Thursday, so make sure that you're caught up and ready for that, and that you know what all of these terms mean. And I'll have a list for you tomorrow, so you can study a little bit and do the review. But that's where we're at. So I will see you in class.